The 2019 season most definitely underway because this is podcast number 2 here on the EKN Radio Network, but it is our first debrief of the new season. Again, racing underway in Daytona right before the new year. We're looking forward to heading down to Homestead in the coming weeks for the SuperKarts USA Winter Series opener. But folks, welcome to another EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden. Episode number 38 of the debrief, January 4th, 2019, the recording date. This will be one of those debriefs where I don't do much of the talking, which is, of course, in stark contrast to the normal rollout of a lot of our podcasts here on EKN. David Cole is the man who was trackside at the WKA Daytona Kart Week in Daytona International Speedway, Daytona Beach, Florida. And he will, of course, give us the full update on the Manufacturers Cup event that took place down in the Sunshine State. This week's show presented by IAME USA, the importer and distributor of the hottest two-cycle engine program in American karting, featuring the Swift KA100, X30, and the new SSC shifter kart engine, which can be found at club, regional, and national racing events from coast to coast. IAME USA's dedication to quality and customer service is second to none. IAME is also a proud supporter of programs such as the United States Pro Kart Series, WK Manufacturers Cup, F-Series Gear Up Challenge, and the SuperKarts USA Pro Tour, Winter Series, and Pro Kart Challenges. All right, David, let's fire things up. I know you were down in Florida. It was a lot better weather than you've had in the past. A little bit of rain here and there. But nonetheless, you're home. You made it to actually you had a flight delay out of Daytona for fog, I think. But you did make it home for New Year's Eve. That's always that thing where you roll the dice going to Daytona for this event, is it not? Because I know I missed a New Year's Eve one year when I went down. You were able to get back in time, which made me happy.
Yours was, I think, snow related up in the Northeast because again they can't handle their snow like we can in the Midwest. But
I got stuck in Pittsburgh.
So
had New Year's Eve at the hotel with a couple ladies I'd never met before.
It's a downtown I've never been to. I've heard good things about it, but it's not a bad place to get stuck. I guess it could be worse. Could.
But you made it home.
Yeah. Well, I got delayed going there and coming back, so it was. The thing about it is what I come to the conclusion is it was a weekend of traveling because people were out of work and out of school, so it's easy to leave on a Thursday or Friday and come home on a Monday for New Year's Eve and be able to catch a party or do this and that. So it was a really weird traveling situation because typically we, with the dates falling on 28th, 29th, and 30th, you never know, it goes, It could be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we typically call it day 1 of racing, day 2 of racing. So this was a rarity to have an actual weekend where it matched up to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
How were the airports anyways on the 31st when you were coming home? Were they packed or was it
busy? Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
And it almost seems like there wasn't enough flights for a lot of people. I know my city, Grand Rapids, we typically have a number of flights going from Atlanta to Grand Rapids on any given Monday. And there was, I think, maybe 2 or 3. So it was kind of limited planes, but a lot of travelers in the airports for sure.
How about that bump? Did you get a bump to first class too?
First one of the year and the last one of the year. So.
Or is it the first one of 2019?
No, well, it was still 2018.
It was.
Got to remember. Got to remember that. It was still calendar year 2018 because everything on January 1st, everything goes back to zero. So,
hey, you were saying, you and I were talking, I know we'll jump into this real quick, but you were saying that you were only a couple of miles away from getting gold status. Of course, you traveled like crazy this year. Did you end up getting gold with Delta?
Well, yeah, I have some complaints issued and reviewing miles. I believe there was one flight going to NOLA that wasn't counted. So with delays and cancellations, it's like, well, we still paid for it. We should get the miles for it. So
fight for it, baby. Fight for it.
So we're gonna try and get that situated for 2019.
All right, let's kickstart things off here. You were in Daytona. You and Eric Brennan, of course, you're producing the EKN live broadcast that we had, the first of, essentially, it's always said the first of 2019, but the last of 2018. Essentially, we call it the first broadcast of the 2019 EKN Trackside Live Tour presented by Cooper Tires. Let's talk about it. Let's just start. How did things go? What did you think in terms of the event itself? Give us the overview.
Well, one of the first things you mentioned was the weather. This was probably the first time since 2015 that we've had warm weather. That was the year you were actually down there covering things. I was there on vacation.
Sure.
So I remember it vividly because we were always at my family was at the beach and we were at the racetrack sweating our butts off. So
True.
Ever since then, the last 2 years, it was either rainy or cold. I mean, last year, I think it was probably 40-degree high temperature. So it was really nice to have the warm conditions. Obviously, we get to open up the trailer and be able to enjoy the Florida weather that we tend to go there for. Rain was on the forecast all weekend long. We thought for sure it was going to come Friday, and it held off until overnight. But then a brief shower came through on Saturday and hit the track during the Margay Ignite pre-final, which was kind of funny. I was actually
listening to that at that point, and all of a sudden, Eric's talking about the rain coming down and harder and harder and harder, and then you guys had to go red flag. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was good because the sun was still shining, so it wasn't like it was going to be a long delay for the rain, and just the fact that once it did stop, they got everybody back into order, and they went back racing on the slick tires, which was really good to see because I know last year the Margay Night kind of had some issues with the rain and whether they were going to race or not. And luckily everybody was already on track. So like, why not? Let's go out there and go at it. So it was cool to see them on the really hard tires, navigating the wet track. But thankfully Sunday, no issues with weather whatsoever. And we were able to get through that. Actually Saturday, because of that rain, we were racing into darkness, and that's always the issue there at Daytona.
No doubt. Of course, with the sun going down a lot earlier, being the winter. Now, David, always cool. The annual event goes back to the World Center of Racing at Daytona. But man, when we did the podcast with Mike Tetro and Kevin Williams from the WKA, talking about the fact that it was the 44th anniversary of road racing first starting at Daytona in 1974. To me, it makes that event so iconic.
It does. It's a staple of what WK is because it was only 3 years old by that point. And so it needed that foundation event. And I think the partnership that they've held with Daytona over these 44 years has been strong. Obviously, we haven't been there every year. There was 1 year where they actually repaved everything, so karting was not able to go back during its typical year. I believe there was one other year that there wasn't racing as well. So it hasn't been a 44 straight year events at Daytona. But again, the Kart Week whole Daytona or WK Kart Week was really Florida based because before we had Manufacturers Cup racing in Jacksonville. And then, of course, the dirt racing was across the highway at the municipal. Can't say it. Municipal Stadium. Yeah, there you go. So it has its foundation at Daytona, but it's been Florida based for a number of years.
So we've got David Cole essentially in the hot seat here, folks. This is episode number 38 of the EKN Debrief here at the EKN Radio Network. We thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're on the mobile app, which you've downloaded to your device, your smartphone, or you're listening on the website at ekartingnews.com/radio. This is the overview of the WKA Daytona Kart Week at Daytona International Speedway. David, during these debriefs, of course, we always, in the overview, kind of look at the numbers. Let's see where we are in terms of numbers. Everyone's always talking about how many guys we have there. How many racers do we have? What's the health of the sport? To be honest, actually some pretty good stability in terms of overall numbers for the WK Manufacturers Cup. Been right, anywhere between like 243 and 256 over the last 4 years. 243 total entries this year. But why don't you go through some of the numbers, because it's interesting, the ebbs and flows of the sport as drivers move in and graduate up, because some classes were up, some classes were down. There was a couple new categories this year. As the Yamaha class is not running Manufacturers Cup. What did you see in terms of numbers this year?
Well, when you look at the total, 243, it was about par to what it's been over the last 4 years. So that's kind of been stable. The positive side is that Margay Ignite provided 41 of those entries. So that one-off for them is boosting the numbers, obviously, for WKA, but also introducing a lot of the people who race the Margay Ignite to the Manufacturers Cup program, because not a lot of them are very familiar with it. A lot of them are brand new to the sport. Some are just, drivers who prefer the Margay program instead. So that kind of sways the total a little bit. But when you look at the numbers overall, other than kid carts, everything was above 20. So essentially that's a positive for the 8 championship categories that we do have for 2019. Briggs 206 Cadet and K100 Junior being the new ones. Those are replacing the Yamaha Sportsman and Yamaha Junior categories. So those started out at 30 and 23, which is a good start. I think really the Briggs 206 Cadet is good because, again, it provides those who aren't looking to go to cycle racing with the micro or mini, and provides them an opportunity to come race the Manufacturers Cup Series with the very, notable and affordable Briggs 206 package.
Well, Dave, I think you look back at where Gold Cup was at one point. Of course, WK's 4-cycle series that kind of got shelved, whether it comes back or not. They struggled for numbers. And man, 206 Briggs Cadet, 30 to launch at Daytona. That's pretty strong, I think. I looked at that when you gave me the numbers. Oh, man, that's really strong. That's solid.
Well, I don't think they ever had that type of number for a cadet level category, whether it was animal or pro gas or whatever you wanted to call it in Gold Cup. So it's very good. Micro was strong at 29, up 7 from last year. The ones that were down were Mini Swift, down 21 drivers at 24. But again, a lot of guys moved up either last year or at the beginning of this year. So that number is kind of swayed. Plus, a lot of drivers are preparing for the busy January schedule that's upcoming. So maybe a lot of people weren't there to compete. Another one was IAME Junior. That was down to 25 from 40. Again, some drivers moving up to senior, or some just not even there because of the busy schedule that's coming up. So I think that's why you see the numbers down in those two categories, is just either scheduling or graduation.
It's interesting because you talked, David, only one category, and that was Kid Kart, which is returning to the program. 17 drivers, the only class below 20, but everything else really, really solid. Yeah, IAME X30 Senior dropped 8 from 40 to 32, but K100 Senior was up 8, 14 to 22. So again, it's kind of just leveled out. None of the really, really massive classes, but everybody right around, as you said, anywhere between 22 and 25 other than Margay Ignite. So good numbers all around. 243 entries to start the 2019 WK Manufacturers Cup Series. David breaking things down again. Margay, the top class with 41 entries. Micro Swift with 29. And then IAME Junior with 25. IAME Senior 32 actually. Still the top. Down 8 from 40 last year. Folks, David Cole, of course, working his way through the paddock the entire time he was down in Daytona, enjoying some sunshine. This time, well, the rest of us up north here were freezing cold. When we get back after this break, David's going to talk a little bit about what happened in the paddock.
History, success, family. Those are the 3 words that describe Comet Kart Sales, one of the longest tenured karting businesses in the United States. The family-owned operation is located just outside of Indianapolis, and they have provided karts, parts, and services for thousands of racers throughout their near 6 decades of business. Comet's online store features everything you need, continually adding new parts to their product line. Comet Kart Sales attends dozens of karting events every year, offering trackside service for racers and families. Karting veterans Mark Dismore Jr. and Gary Lawson provide one-on-one driver coaching and tuning assistance for each trackside customer. The engine building business, Comet Racing Engines, has won countless major events and championships over decades of karting, and they continue to offer the best trackside service in the industry. Make sure you head to CometKartSales.com or call them at 317-462-3413 to be a part of the Comet Kart Sales family today.
Are you looking for a new kart shop? One that treats you like you're an important customer? If so, look no further than Acceleration Kart Racing. At Acceleration, customer service is number one. We are a full-time karting business, not a hobby or an afterthought. We have all the products you're looking for, from kit karts to shifters, safety to speed. We strive to offer our customers the best products, prices, and service. At Acceleration Kart Racing, we're always here when you need something for your racing program. Located in Las Vegas, Acceleration is stocked with a wide range of products. We've been helping racers get the right parts for over 16 years. Acceleration has everything that a kart racer needs, from turnkey karts to safety equipment, engines, and more, stocking all of the leading kart racing brands. Here's a taste of the products that we carry every day. CRG, Tony Kart, Bennett, Rotax, Honda, Miami, MG Tires, Vinco, Bridgestone, Mojo, Alpine Stars, Sparco, Ribtech, and EVS, Tillett, Micron, Alfano, Bell, Arai, Zamp, KG, Sniper, SweetTech, and K&N. It doesn't matter where you live in the country. We will get you what you need so you can get back on the track. Acceleration has a sufficient supply of products to ensure that your order can be shipped the very same day. Our knowledgeable staff is available to help customers 6 days a week, and ordering online is open 24 hours a day at shopakr.com. For visitors and locals in the Las Vegas area, Acceleration has a large showroom full of the best kart racing products available. Come on in and check it out. To find out more about what Acceleration has to offer, visit shopakr.com. Again, shopakr.com. And make sure to sign up to be on our mailing list to receive the latest updates and promotions that we send throughout the season. Again, we're a one-stop shop. shopakr.com. Welcome back to episode number 38 of the EKN Debrief here on the EKN Radio Network. My name is Rob Howden, joined as always by David Cole, our second podcast of the 2019 season, and we thank you all for tuning in, of course, first to the EKN Radio Network, our live 24/7 streaming radio station. Later on, of course, on the podcast, on demand, iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, and by this time, we'll probably have it fired up on Spotify as well. David's going to jump into the paddock pass now, talking about some of the stuff that wasn't racing-oriented, just more some of the stuff in the paddock, some of the news that was working its way through the pit area. This edition of the Paddock Pass being presented by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. If you want to improve your results, it's time for professional instruction and coaching at the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Located at the new state-of-the-art Speed Sports Racing Park just north of Houston, the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy offers custom coaching programs for newcomers and experienced racers alike. Train with a champion with over 30 years of racing experience to get proven results. Get ready for the big races by training with the best. Reserve your dates now by calling 866-607-RACE. That's 866-607-7223. So, David, we've got, I think, 5 bits of news that you were able to dig up while you were in the paddock at Daytona. Lots going on. Of course, there was the Manufacturers' Cup race. There was good turnout in the road racing event. You can talk a bit about that. And also some good numbers out of the dirt track as well. All in all, WK Kart Week this year, a success from top to bottom. Yeah,
we can go backwards to forwards. As you mentioned, yeah. You know, the Kart Week is a 3-event program with Dirt World Championships and road racing going on at the same time as the Manufacturers' Cup Series. I happened to swing by the dirt track Friday night after practice on the sprint track. Got to watch about an hour and a half of some of the main events going on outside NASCAR 1 and 2. Good total number of entries, over 700 over the 2 days of racing, featuring 18 classes per day. The highlight of the event was the All-Pro class at the end of the day, which paid out $3,000 to the winner. In that category, almost had 40 drivers in it, so it was good to see. I think one of the main positives of the race weekend was the track conditions. Year in, year out, it was a real dust bowl. Anytime you drove by it or just stood there, I mean, you know us with our black shirts, it's caked in dirt. So this year, they started the prep right after last year's event. Obviously, when you're dealing with the limestone and dirt like this, it's not clay, so you kind of have to keep it under control with chemicals. And they had the right people doing the right things. And this year's track was probably one of the best they've ever had at this circuit.
You know, I've done a bunch of dirt racing back in the day when I had Speedway USA magazine. I've driven a bunch of the smaller racetracks. You, of course, went EKN live on our Facebook page, showing some of the races. And man, especially with the All Pro category, you know, which is kind of the limited category, dude, that's a big racetrack, and they were letting those things haul. Like, they could really stretch their legs on those with those All Pro karts. That was fun to watch.
Well, yeah, the All Pro was just the pro category. That was just everybody there with their clone engines. The Unlimited All Stars is what we're broadcasting.
That's what I saw. That's what I meant.
Yeah, the Unlimited All Stars. Obviously, those guys are just hauling ass around that quarter mile. And again, some guys are good, some guys are bad, some guys are just there because they love it. But they're, again, even with those guys, sliding it sideways through the corners. Again, not a lot of dust was stirred up, and it was actually kind of nice because you could actually sit alongside that front stretch wall and not be blasted with sand and limestone and any other things. But again, there was that smell of the tire prep going on throughout the paddock. So.
Yeah, you're going to get that over in the dirt track for sure. But hey, I would say, and David, we talk about this all the time, numbers breed numbers, right? And if they were up to 700 entries, remember back in the day, let's say 10 years ago, a little more over 10 years ago, they'd pull 2,000 entries at Municipal Stadium, that track you had mentioned that's just on the other side of the highway in Daytona. I'd race there as well. 2,000 entries, but 700 here for this particular WK event. I think that bodes well for next year, knowing that they got the track dialed in. That was definitely one of the issues when we were down there in 15. I think it's super cool to see them get that handled. And 700 means probably 900 next year. I mean, even 1,000 again.
Yeah, I think the track helps, and also the long-term commitment they have with Maxxis now. Before, over the last probably 5 years, it's been a number of different tires with Unelli and Vega coming in, and Maxxis before that as well too. So now that they have a long-term commitment with Maxxis, I think people now can bank on what this event's going to be, because obviously tire is a big game with dirt racing. So making sure you have the right tires, well ahead of the event is very key for these racers. As you know, with the prep and the amount of work that they go into making sure they have the right tire combination for the event. So I think the track and the long-term commitment to the Maxxis tire is going to help this event hopefully grow over 1,000 entries.
Yeah, Max Speed and or Max, what do you call it? Maxxis tires and Gold Speed. Let me get that right. Gold Speed, obviously the distributor for Maxxis. They have a really good hold on dirt racing in the Southeast, and like you said, to be able to give these guys that stability, that platform, they're already running the Maxxis tire at their other events. They already have a wall of tires in their trailer, and they don't want to go to something different. They want to run the same thing, so that's good. So. A solid, as you said, 700 entries over 2 days for the WKA in their Dirt World Championships. What about road racing? I watched some of it on the timing and obviously on social. What were your thoughts on what happened road racing wise?
Well, I wasn't able to get a firm number on the entries, but I think it was good again as you walked around and watched the racetrack Saturday and Sunday. You were able to see a good amount of fields and number of categories. Some of the stories after walking through the paddock, there was a big group of North California karters, road racers that came from the West Coast, made the journey out in their supercarts and shifter carts to compete in Daytona. Not the first time it's happened, but a good amount of drivers that were there together having a good time. The KA100 senior and junior categories made its debut on the high banks, which was really cool to see. Some racers from the North Carolina, South Carolina made their way down and were able to take part in the local option category there. Briggs and Stratton 206, another strong showing with the CIK bodywork out there going 60 miles an hour around the high banks. That's always fun to see. But there's 30 to 40 of them out there at the same time, so that's fun to watch.
That's the key.
Same with the Miami Sprint. They were about 30 drivers strong as well too. So again, those guys, some people are making the transition from sprint racing to road racing, or doing both at the same time, or not necessarily at the same time, but throughout the season. So that's good to see, and that's key on the kind of the growth that road racing needs is bringing in new people, because as we've seen, it's struggle to get new people involved in road racing, because as we keep seeing the laydown numbers, they're kind of falling off. They come up a little bit and then they fall back down again. This year, I think it wasn't quite as strong as what we've seen in the past, but Yamaha divisions were still strong with those. Mr. Daytona, Randy Folks, was able to add a couple more wins to his total, which dates back to the inaugural event in 1974. So,
was he there in 74?
He was there in 74. So he's been at every single one.
What a stud, though, right? Is he not just like you said, Mr. Daytona? What a legend in road racing for our sport, man. Randy Folks, that's impressive.
Yeah, but some young guns were able to beat him with, which was kind of fun to watch. Chad Dawkin and Nate Grindell, Nasty Nate. Those guys were able to beat Randy a couple times on the weekend, but it was still fun.
Did you just call Chad and Nate young guns?
Well, compared to Randy. I mean, they're probably half his age, right?
You're very true, but they're not young guns.
Well,
maybe in road racing.
Racing, if you don't have gray hair, you're a young gun, right? I can still pull it off as a young gun, right?
Oh, dude, that's a new EKN T-shirt.
Right?
Road racing. If you don't have gray hair, you're a young gun.
There you go.
God, you got to keep talking. I got to take a break.
So that was fun to watch. But the fastest lap of the event, which everybody always tries to follow, was Mr. Supercart Johnny West hitting the 53 mark with a 153.019. And he said probably if he had better brakes, he probably would have dipped into the 52s.
That's still pretty solid. 153 flat. Nice run for Johnny West again. And again, just it's good to kick the season off, David. Like you said, there's a lot going on in road racing now. I'd like to put together some kind of a road racing roundtable podcast coming up soon, because there are some things happening. Kevin Williams talked about the fact there's going to be a couple events where WKA will be working closely with CART and with Championship Enduro Series, Dave Larson and the CES. It seems like road racing trying to come together a little bit here, because things are tough. We are losing some venues here and there, but always great to see a strong turn at Daytona. I think you obviously, your family being such a road race family, I'm sure you were buoyed by the numbers that we did see there.
Yeah, I would have liked to have been out there. So maybe next year for the 45th anniversary program. So we'll see.
Well, you're still a young gun.
I'm a young gun. I wasn't born in 74, so that counts, right? That means I'm a young gun, right?
Damn, yeah, it does. It does. I was 6.
There you go. So you don't count. You're gray hair.
I'm not a young gun, although I don't have any gray hair. Yeah. You know that. I just don't have any hair. I'm losing my hair. All right, you talked dirt. You talked road race. We're in the Paddock Pass, presented by the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Let's talk about some stuff that happened within the Manufacturers Cup paddock. I know you had a couple of notes that you wanted to get out here in the debrief.
Well, one of the first things that kind of we were made aware about as we were heading to Daytona was Brent Cruz signing up with Kart Sport North America to drive a Kart Republic this year. Cruz, being 10 years old, is moving up to the junior category, which again is very controversial, being the amount of success that he's had in cadet division, but how young he is, and to be able to move up. So that was kind of one of the pinpoints that we were watching throughout the weekend. And obviously one of the things that we keyed in heading there, and just the deal actually just came together just days before the event. So that was kind of interesting to see and follow. Then once karts hit the track, we were able to see for the first time the new Nitro Kart Junior Senior chassis make its debut. Talking with Nick Tucker, he had one driver in each of the 4 categories for junior and senior. And that chassis, which still has no name, he just calls it the big chassis. So I'm working on him, maybe call it the big chassis or something like that. So I don't know.
I like that. All right, we'll see that.
But Yeah. So overall, the chassis was able to gain 3 podiums on the weekend in the full size chassis. So it was a good debut for that, and it's something that we'll continue to follow throughout the season. And then also walking around the paddock, you're able to walk through and see a number of big names. Obviously a lot of the team owners and shop owners but obviously drivers who weren't there racing. 2 of them were Ryan Norberg and Austin Garrison, both there doing some driver coaching. Ryan Norberg was working with William Cox, a junior driver, down there. He was kind of walking around, didn't have any branding on his shirt that would say where he was going. But as we all know now, after the event, joining Rollison Performance Group and talking with him, is really happy about the new opportunity.
So Ryan wasn't sporting anything, but there was another driver who was kind of throwing it out there early though with a T-shirt, right?
Yeah, and again, no official announcement has been made, but obviously, we know from talking with him and Tony Tesoro that Austin Garrison is moving over to CRG Nordam. He was the guy we took a picture of on Instagram wearing the CRG shirt. And he was wearing it proudly, wore one every day. And again, talking with him, he's really excited. He'll be down in Florida as well, racing with CRG Nordam at the Winter Series. So very excited about his new venture and new opportunity that he has.
Lots going on, of course, as we have just turned the corner into the 2019 season. Of course, David Cole giving us some of the insight, the paddock pass for this edition of the EKN Debrief. After this break, we'll come back and we'll get David to start talking about what he saw on the racetrack. After these messages, we're going to jump in to the race report. In racing, experience is priceless. Franklin Motorsports is a leader in the karting industry with over 50 years of combined karting experience. We can provide you with everything you need to go racing. With a large online product selection, select track support events, and a wide variety of shop services, Franklin Motorsports is your complete karting source. Check out our online store at franklinkart.com, where all of our products are just a mouse click away and we ship daily. We're constantly adding new products to our online store, so keep checking back. We specialize in IAME engines, tilt seats, and of course, our championship-winning Merlin chassis. In our online store, you'll find molecule cleaning products, minus 273 racing gloves, micron gauges and components, and both MG and Bridgestone tires. If you're ready to take your racing to the next level, come and join us at Team FMS. We've been supplying racers with start-to-finish support at race events for many years, from providing a helping hand on a weekday test outing or at a club event, to full arrive and drive packages at the highest level of karting competition. For 2019, we'll be attending the SuperKart USA Winter Series, WK Manufacturers Cup, United States Pro Kart Series, and the Route 66 Kart Racing Series. And we'd love to have you under our tent at Merlin Nation. For all things karting, visit franklinkart.com.
For over a century, Briggs & Stratton has had a commitment and passion for racing. It's a DNA found in every engine we build today. So whether you kart race, Baja, race quarter midgets, or believe that dirt and snow are just God's way of adding to the challenge, the dedicated spirit of every Briggs & Stratton employee stands at the fence waiting for the green flag to drop. Briggs & Stratton Racing. What powers you?
Welcome back to episode 38 of the EKN Debrief. David Cole giving us a full review, the breakdown of the WKA Daytona Kart Week at Daytona International Speedway. Talked a little about the dirt and road race programs within the Paddock Pass, but with the race report now, we'll jump and focus solely on the Manufacturers Cup. This edition of the race report presented by Precision Karting Technologies. With over 40 years of manufacturing experience, Precision Karting Technologies is the leader in American-made components. We produce high-quality products led by our full line of chromoly and mild steel axles. Metric or imperial, standard or custom, we have what you need. Collars, keys, and bearings, we're the source for axle components in the USA. With over 70 dealers throughout the US and Canada, it's easy to choose PKT. Family owned and operated, proudly made in the USA. All right, David Cole, we got a bunch of categories for you to rock and roll through here. I think in this little segment here, we've got X30 Senior, we've got KA100 Senior, IAME Junior, and KA100 Junior. That's the four that we're going to go until we hit the next break. Have at it, my friend. How was IAME Senior?
Well, Kart Sport North America and Kart Republic swept the wins on the weekend with Brandon Jarzakrak and Zane Maloney. Alex Kardashian was actually the top qualifier to begin 2019. Only he got pushed out early on in the pre-final by Maloney. Maloney won the race, but was penalized and put behind Kardashian for the grid for the main event. So that opened the door up for Brandon Jarzakrak as he jumped out to the lead and was able to score the win, his third at Daytona since 2016.
Wow.
So a good record there for him, and winning in 16, 17, and now, 15, 16, and 18. I'm getting my years mixed up again.
Sorry.
IMSA driver Austin McCusker was second in his return to karting, and then Brandon Lemke making a return to Merlin Nation, completing the podium in third.
Doesn't seem like Lemke lost anything.
No, and we'll get a little bit more into that too as well. Yep. Jake Venberg opened up things on Sunday, grabbing the top qualifier honor, his first at Daytona, but it was really Maloney all day long. The Barbados driver was able to slip by him in the pre-final and held off Jarzakrak for the final, or for the victory in the final. Nice. 2018 WK junior champion Josh Green was able to get up to third and was matching pace right there with Maloney, Jarzakrak, and him. So
I like seeing the junior drivers step up, right? When they're kind of little debut there, get in there and get the elbows up. So good job for Josh Green, as you said, on the podium in the Sunday race. What about K100 Senior?
Well, a little bit about Green first. Green had done some senior racing before it last year, and actually was in the senior category at the IAME International Final. So he was one of those 15-year-old junior drivers last year. So he definitely has the experience now, and I think we're going to see him towards the front throughout the season. Nice. But getting into the KA100 senior category, again, as you talked about, Lemke hasn't lost any steps racing now, his stock cars and coming back to karting. But again, another guy who keeps going back and forth and finding success. So he and Alexander Kardashian were the two winners in KA100 senior. Kardashian swept all day Saturday and made it a 3 in a row for him if you go back to counting the Yamaha senior category of last year, because he swept the entire weekend last year. So 3 straight days in Daytona sweeping 100cc action for Kardashian. So he is definitely one of those top 100cc drivers in the country. He was able to beat out former WKA champion Dakota Pesic and F1600 driver Spike Kohlbecker for the victory on Saturday. Sunday, Lemke actually wasn't racing K100, but subbed for Brad Britton, who came down with a bad case of the flu that Saturday night and Sunday morning. So Lemke jumped in his kart with no K100 experience, no practice, and set fast time in qualifying. And then went right out and dominated the pre-final and final. So Kardashian, all he could do was settle for second, and then Ari Venberg ended up finishing third aboard a Team FMS Cosmic.
Again, that's just one of those opportunities where Lemke has shown so well over the last number of years. Of course, one of the top juniors, I think national number one play at SCUSA at one point with Merlin and Franklin Motorsports, goes off and does his stock car racing, but then rolls back in and no practice, never driven the K100, and boom, he's on top. That's talent, man. That's just bottom line sheer talent, which is great. Natural ability. I love to see that. All right, moving on. IAME Junior.
Yeah, speaking of natural talent, Connor Zillage probably has among the best right now that we are seeing. Yeah. Zillage was able to sweep the wins on the weekend in the category. Brent Cruz, who we talked about earlier, was able to secure the pole position. He gave up the top 2 spots to Zillage and Jonathan Ports, who was driving the Nitro kart. Zillage was able to hold off Ports for the victory on Saturday, with Cruz ending up in third.
So Ports was on the big kart?
The Nitro Big. Exactly. I like that name. I'm telling you, Nitro Kart Big. I mean, you don't have a model name. You might as well just call it the Big. And then you call the Cadet Little.
Like
right? And then you can call it the Kid Kart Mini or
We?
Yeah.
All right. So continue on. So you did that was Saturday, right?
Yep, that was Saturday. Zillage came back on Sunday and swept the action unchallenged all day long, ending up with a 5-second margin of victory in the final. The fight really was for second, with Dylan Christie able to grab the spot over Ports. So Ports able to grab 2 podiums there in his Nitro Kart Big debut.
It'll be for me. I'm kind of intrigued on how a successful weekend like this will maybe fire up the momentum for Zillage moving into the other races he's got coming. I expect we're going to see him at the SCUSA Winter Series at Homestead, coming off a double race win like that against some pretty good talent. He'll be riding a high coming into Homestead, I would think.
Well, I think he's riding even better because he grabbed 3 wins on the weekend in total. Because if you look at the K100 Junior category, he was able to double up on Saturday by winning the K100 Junior final. It was actually his first win of the weekend, going by the order of the class rotation. He was able to beat out top qualifier Tyler Wettengale in the final. Donald Wharton 2 gave Nitro Kart its first big podium for the new chassis. So Zillage, winning 3 races on the weekend. And if you think about it, he was one of the 2 drivers to podium twice at the Super Nationals. So essentially, he's got 6 podiums in the last 2 big races that we've been to.
Getting a little comfortable being on the podium. That's good for him. That's again, momentum is so key in this sport. Momentum and confidence, and he's definitely got it going. That's cool, David. That's awesome. What about who was the guy to beat on Sunday? Did Zillage not get the 4? What happened?
Zillage did not get 4, so he did not get 1 for the pinky. But it ended up being Cruz. Cruz was able to come away on Sunday as the winner in the final. He and Zillage were right there racing back and forth, but Cruz was able to walk away and get away for the victory. Dylan Christie came up and grabbed the 2nd spot, dropping Zillage down to 3rd, but again, still 4 podiums on the weekend for Connor Zillage.
Yeah, and Cruz coming in there as well, right? His first year in the junior category on that Kart Republic. That's I like the storylines, early storylines developing to get rolling here in the 2019 season. Okay, David Cole's given us a couple of runs so far. IAME and KA100 Senior, IAME and KA100 Junior. Those race reports done. We'll be back after this break. Mini Swift, 206 Cadet, Micro, Kid Kart, and Margay Ignite. David's race report still to come. The 2019 season is just around the corner, and Trinity Karting Group is fired up and ready to take up the challenge. Trinity Karting Group is a full-service operation based at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati, which gives us access to our custom-designed driver training facility. This allows us to offer private one-on-one coaching to take you to the next level. We're also a Midwest dealer for Tony Kart in IAME, and we're your source for MG and Avinco tires in the region. We'll be trackside, the SuperKart USA Winter Series and Pro Tour, the USPKS, the Battle of the Brickyard, and of course, the KRA Series at Newcastle Motorsports Park. From arrive and drive and coaching programs to the parts you need, let Trinity Karting Group provide you with customer service second to none. Trinity Karting Group has a long history in the sport, a winning pedigree, and we're dedicated to driver development. We take pride in our professional approach and our positive attitude. Let us build a custom race program for you. Give us a call at 513-421-4463 or check us out online at trinitykartinggroup.com. From coast to coast, IAME has become the 2-cycle engine of choice for American karting. Starting with the air-cooled 60cc Swift engine for micro and mini drivers, and moving through the incredible X30 power plant for junior, senior, and masters, IAME is providing much-needed stability for the sport. In 2018, the new KA100 Rejet engine took the karting community by storm, and it will be a core class on the SCUSA Winter Series and Pro Tour, as well as the United States Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, and the WKA Manufacturers Cup programs. Watch for more regions, series, and events to get on board with the new IAME formula. This year, IAME USA is debuting the new SSE 175cc shifter engine, which will be the foundation of Superkart's USA gearbox competition for the future. The engine has been custom designed with a balanced equation of performance and reliability. We have 2 distribution centers in the U.S. to serve you well. IAME East in Mooresville, North Carolina, and IAME West in Temecula, California. The momentum is continuing to build, so it's time to make an investment in stabilizing your engine program. For more information, head to the website for your region, IAMEUSAEast.com or IAMEUSAWest.com. IAME, the heart of karting. Welcome back to the EKN Radio Network, episode number 38 of the EKN Debrief, our second podcast of the 2019 season, but we're throwing it back to the very last days of December 2018. David Cole giving us his breakdown of the WK Manufacturers Cup event at WK Kart Week at Daytona. David, let's continue on with the race report brought to you by Precision Karting Technologies and have a look at the action in Mini Swift.
Well, second year Mini Swift driver Christian Miles is able to dominate the weekend aboard his Kart Sport North America Kart Republic. Miles was able to win every session, leading every lap throughout the weekend, capped off by wins of 6 seconds and 5 seconds for his first 2 career WKA victories. Nikita Johnson and Anderson Leonard were the podium on Saturday, with Caleb Maloney and Sebastian NG rounding out the podium on Sunday.
Well, yeah, always impressive to see guys dominate, David, and we've been watching Christian Miles kind of work his way up the ranks. And I always say this: you got to keep digging. You got to stay in your category. Others, there's guys that have been there longer that are going to, of course, be solid. They're going to win races. But if you bide your time and keep working on your own skills, sooner or later it's your time. And it just seemed to me like, in listening to the broadcast with you and Eric, this was just Christian Miles' weekend for sure.
Yeah, I think he's probably got the most laps than anybody in the sport, as he's always at the racetrack making laps and whatever he can. So kudos to him on a good weekend and definitely a good start to 2019.
All right, let's move to Briggs 206 Cadet. We talked in the overview early that some great numbers, this new category brought onto the Manufacturers Cup that is giving younger drivers that option. If they don't want to go 2-cycle, they can still do Man Cup and do the whole series, the traveling series, running that awesome Briggs 206.
Yeah, and the category made its debut at Daytona for the first time, so that was cool to see. Obviously, the Briggs power running around Daytona is always fun to listen to. But Sebastian NG became the inaugural winner of the category in Daytona, as he was able to run away from Raiden Nicole and pre-final winner Cameron Weinberg. Sunday was all Ben Mayer, as he swept the action over Julian DaCosta and Weinberg, giving 2 wins to Nitro Kart in the category.
Oh, you mean Ben Mayer winning at least once on a weekend again?
That is correct. That's a good point, Rob. I did not bring that up. Yeah, you're right.
It never ends. It always wins one main event, at least one main event every weekend, it seems like, for Ben. Pretty impressive.
He won at Supernats, so yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm saying, right? It just keeps winning. The guy's a winning machine. Congrats to all the winners. And again, just cool to see the 206 program there. I like it. I think the Man Cup is a good program to have 206 on, especially at the cadet level. So excited to see the 30 karts, as you had said earlier, David. Good numbers in Micro Swift as well. Not so a drop from last year to this year at WK Kart Week in Mini and X30 Junior, but a good bump up, as you had said before, David, in the Micro Swift category. Almost 30 karts. They ended up with 29, up 7 from last year, and I would expect some pretty good racing as well.
Yeah, and it's a wide range of talent because, as we saw throughout both main events, lap traffic was very key to being able to stay out front and get away from the rest of the field. So Spencer Conrad was able to do that on Saturday, as he kept the Nitro Kart streak going in the category, winning Saturday's main event over Christian Chiano.
I like it.
I believe is how we say his name, and Carson Walters. And then making it 2 first-time winners in the category on the weekend. Ayrton Grimm was able to earn the victory while also extending the Nitro Kart win streak in the category as well. So he won over Conrad, and Hoyt Moore gave it a all Nitro Kart podium. So Nitro Kart, I believe, has not lost in this category since maybe 2017.
Wow, that's nuts. That's pretty crazy. But again, you got to give up to Nick Tucker and his whole staff. They have turned Nitro Kart into really the powerhouse in the cadet categories. Moving down into Kid Kart, David, another new class for the 2019 season. They end up with 17 drivers coming back after an absence of a couple of years, 3 years, I think. How did Kid Kart look out there?
Again, another wide range of talent. Some kids are on it. Some kids aren't. Some kids' motors are on it. Some kids aren't, because again, you can gain or lose 5 seconds a lap depending on how that engine's running. Yeah. But Jacob Scheibel and Holden Harder were able to grab their first career WK wins. Scheibel drove away to an 11-second advantage over Race Beckman and Colton Sherwood. Harder was able to grab the win with a late pass for the victory on Sunday, able to steal the win away from Scheibel, with JJ O'Neill grabbing the third spot on the podium.
I was working quite a bit throughout the weekend while you were down there in Daytona, but when I was able to kind of have my focus off, I made sure I flicked on our EKN Live and I listened to Eric Brennan's call. And I was trying to get the Margay Ignite class because I knew with so many guys in the class and how close it was going to be, the race was going to be tremendous. And, I felt gutted when I heard the Gabby Chavez having an engine issue in, I believe, the pre-final. But all in all, just some really, really good racing and a pretty good weekend overall on Margay Ignite for Evan Stammer.
It was a good weekend for Evan Stammer, who has been a bridesmaid and had some issues at Daytona before last year. And the year before that in the regular Briggs category that they've had. But Stammer was able to grab the victory on both days. Again, Saturday was racing as the sun was basically gone, and we could barely see the carts at the far end of the racetrack because it was getting so dark. But Stammer was able to hold off Canadian Charlotte Lalande for the victory with veteran Jeff Jewell, again, coming from mid-pack to complete the podium. So another great drive by Jeff. Sunday was another long battle. Stammer was able to slip by Spike Kohlbecker in the final turn, reaching the line first with a great push at the end by Jeff Jewell again. So those top three were able to cross the finish line within 82 thousandths of a second between each other. So a great finish for the weekend, as that category was the last one on track. So great racing all around. Again, drivers with a number of different experiences. Jeff Jewell, a veteran racer, longtime Margay driver, able to mix it up with the young guns of Stammer, Charlotte, and obviously Spike Kohlbecker.
Talk a little bit about the IndyCar guys, because there was a good group of both Gabby Chavez and Zach Veach were there. Road Indy driver Juan Pedrojito, who's going to be doing some IMSA racing. He was there, as was James French. Just looked like they were always having a good time. In talking to Zach and Gabby from last year, they loved going down to Daytona.
Yeah, Zach Veach was the top IndyCar driver on Saturday, placing fourth, with Gabby placing sixth on Sunday. As you mentioned, Chavez was having issues on Saturday, was among the top contenders till either something with the fuel pump or just something was missing on the engine. So they got that fixed for Sunday, and he was able to beat out Veach for the best IndyCar finish on Sunday. You flip the page over the IMSA drivers with James French and Juan Pedrojito. French was able to place fifth and was actually on Saturday, and then it was actually the top qualifier on Sunday, but a spin in the final on the opening lap cost him a chance at the podium and the victory. So Pedrojito was the better of the two and was able to finish eighth.
Yeah, all four of those drivers used to a little more grip than I think you're going to get out of the Ignite package. So.
Yeah, but you know what? I think Chavez was the most impressive in the wet during that pre-final when it was completely wet. He was all about it. I actually was kidding with them when they were lining everybody up. I said, let's invert the field, because he was starting pole. And he was like, I'm all for it, man. I think he would have loved to have gone through 40 carts to try and get the win.
I know he would have. And you got to remember, Gabby, not only was he an Indy Lights race winner, Star Mazda race winner, an IndyCar driver, he's also a Super Nationals winner in Tag Senior, right? This guy knows how to wheel a go-kart, and I'm thrilled to see him go back and have some fun. So kudos to all four of those guys for getting out there.
And
right?
he just had his wisdom teeth pulled. So he was driving.
That's right.
He was driving with a little cushions under the cheeks, and also riding the high of just getting engaged to his girlfriend. So
yeah, he and Gabby girl just got engaged too. That's really cool. All right, folks, we're going to wrap this thing up. A couple of minutes still to go. Let's move quickly into the EKN Trackside Live race calendar presented today by the Rawlison Performance Group. At the Rawlison Performance Group, we strive for ultimate success. We're more than just an arrive and drive race team with countless wins on the national and regional level. Our focus is on complete driver development, and that's where success is fueled. We combine one-on-one coaching, on-track instruction, and intensive data debriefing with unparalleled kart and engine prep. Our program will help raise your game. We'll take you to the next level. If that's your goal, Rawlison Performance Group needs to be your next move. All right, David, let's have a look at the schedule. We've got three events, 2 weekends coming over the next, let's see, month and a half. This coming Thursday, I head for Miami and the AMR Homestead Miami Motorplex presented by MG Tires for the opening rounds of this year's SCUSA Winter Series in Homestead, January 11th, 12th, and 13th. Of course, that's all EKN Trackside Live. That's what we're giving you here. Our live race calendar. I'll be down there bringing full coverage from Friday afternoon practice and, of course, all the way through Saturday and Sunday. Then you and I split, dude. We're going East Coast, West Coast on February 8th, 9th, and 10th. You're at Cal Speed Karting Center in Fontana, California for the opening round of the Challenge of the Americas. And I'm on the other coast back to Florida for the 3rd and 4th rounds of the SCUSA Winter Series in Homestead. We'll figure out where we're going to be streaming both broadcasts because Eric Brennan, I believe, who works with you at Daytona and WKA, he's going to sub in for me at the Challenge of the Americas race. Actually, no, this was going to be Chappie, I think. Tim Chapman, I think, is going to do it.
This one will be Chappie.
Yeah,
yep, it'll be
Eric's doing two.
Chappie's home track.
It is Chappie's home track. And obviously, it'll be have we had Chappie on a couple times on the EKN Live program, right?
He's been on for Challenging the Americas, I believe.
17?
2017.
That's cool. So Tim Chapman, of course, fantastic voice, and he'll give you the play-by-play from the opening round of the Challenge of the Americas, the Rock Cup Winter Series program from the West Coast. And again, I'll be wrapping things up at the SCUSA Winter Series in Homestead. That's February 8th, 9th, and 10th. 25 races, I believe, or 24 this year so far on the EKN Trackside Live Tour presented by Cooper Tires. We'll have a new Trackside Live Tour t-shirt coming out soon. Give those out to a bunch of winners. And, of course, they'll be for sale from Style to Aesthetic on the EKN store. David, wrap it up. I'm going to give you a minute. Wrap this thing up. Let's talk about the Constructors' Championship breakdown from Man Cup at Daytona.
Yeah, if you look at the wins over the weekend, Kart Republic led the way with 5. Nitro Kart right behind them with 4. Connor Zillage and Tony Kart were able to grab 3 victories there. Emick grabbing 2 wins in the Kid Kart division.
Nice.
Merlin and Top Kart split the KA100 senior categories. So those are your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chassis that won on the weekend.
Overall, your final thoughts.
New classes, and of course, the winners on the weekend have the momentum to start out the new season. As we said, Briggs and the KA100 categories are going to carry some momentum going on in the year. And of course, those who have won have started the championship chase at the top. So they will be beginning the new season with the higher points and looking forward to the next event, which will be at the GoPro Motorplex in March. So, but then again, looking back, and we have to wait about 350 some days until we are heading back to Daytona, which will actually be the 45th anniversary since the first WK event was held there in 1974. So Kart Week 2019.
Big year, folks. Make sure you get out there. Daytona Kart Week with the WK, always a fantastic place to be. Just a great event to get down there between Christmas and New Year's to have a lot of fun. David Cole giving us the debrief here, episode number 38 of the debrief, our second podcast of the 2019 season. David, thank you so much for the insight. Thank you for being trackside. As we said, I'm off to Homestead. SCUSA Winter Series getting kicked off in February. David will move to the West Coast to cover the opening round of the Challenge of the Americas. That's going to wrap it up here for this edition of the Debrief. On behalf of David Cole, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.